Thanks, Shoops, and once again, good evening to everybody. Good evening to Vina, to members of the media, and of course to Coach Stuart. Yeah, no, look, difficult game in prospect. I think if you look at the two teams, they come in with on the back of two interesting scenarios, and of course, both the teams are working to try to improve the performances. I don't think either one of us is very happy with where we are. But I think very early in the season, we are content and we know where we're going. But we've also watched Chiefs extensively, and there's a lot of work that has been done, and there's big improvements in relation to how they play. And Coach Stuart has done, with his technical team, have done a very good job in already putting an imprint on the team. And you only go into the analysis and in the data to see. I mean, for an example, before the coach arrived, they were averaging 40 passes before a box entry. Now, 34 passes before a box entry. They take a little bit less now, 110 seconds before they are in your box creating a chance, as opposed to the 146 seconds that they used to take before. So when the coach speaks of transition and the work that they've done in the past, you can already see the personality and the imprint of and a sign of good coaching. And clearly we are up against a very good team that is well coached, and our expectation is that of a very, very good match.
And especially to my colleague on the other side of the camera, Coach Rulani. Yeah, I hear what Rulani says, and echoing really the sentiments. We know the quality that Sundowns possess. We've played them recently. We know how dangerous they can be, how slippery they can be to try to establish a proper press against. So we know that, and we know that we're also in the throes of trying to put down the supporting walls of the building so that we can decorate it nicely a little bit later on in the season. But we're quite happy with where we've gone. We're certainly not nowhere near where we want to finish. But we're definitely looking forward to playing Sundowns, because you're always guaranteed of an interesting both challenge and game of football. So we're hoping that we can improve and keep improving, and that will lead to an exciting game for everybody to watch.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Coach Rulani. Good afternoon, Coach Baxter, and good afternoon to all the members of the media as well. Karabo Pasha from the beautiful game. Coach Rulani, to be quite honest, the last couple of 2 weeks, can you just maybe emphasize on what exactly has the club been focusing on? Obviously, it's been the international break. Has it come at a good time for you, and what exactly have you been focusing on? I think I'd also like to extend the same question to Coach Stuart Baxter. Thank you.
Thanks, Pasha. Look, I think we spoke a little bit about it just after the Golden Arrows match. The conundrum for us is really the blessing that we have in relation to having top players. And when you have top players, it means during the FIFA break, you get a little bit of a headache in relation to players going to their national teams, and it becomes very difficult to put in the work and trying to improve certain schemes and certain things that you want to work on. But we tried very hard to try to improve certain elements of our game that we are not very happy with, and of course we said even before, you've got two ways to improve the team. The one is through the window and try to improve the quality by reinforcing the squad, and the other is by investing time into the pitch. And now is only focus is about being on the pitch, working on the pitch, and it becomes very difficult when you don't have all your players. So for us, the biggest priority was to make sure that we get some of our players on the injury list back, and try to work on the rehabilitation of Shishi, Lebusa, Gaston, Sereno, and try to make sure that they're ready and well back. So, but good work from our medical department, our conditioning department. They've invested a lot. They've put a lot of hours into trying to make sure that we've got a clean bill of health, and we are in that space at this moment where we've almost got everybody back. And I think in relation to that, in answering your question, it was a well-deserved and well-needed FIFA break. The 10 days allowed us to focus on trying to get some of our important players back.
Yeah, I think there's excuse me. The challenge is working on team things when you don't have the complete team. So you start breaking down into smaller units, you know. But one of the things that we've worked on everything. To be very honest, we've worked on all aspects of the game. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're more difficult to play against in terms of being more efficient, of closing down certain spaces that opponents want, not just Sundowns, but all opponents are looking for them. Sundowns are probably better at that than most. But there's that, and then there's the efficiency of us picking our way through an established defence. That's one thing that we've got to get better at. So we've looked at tweaking the system a little bit. We've looked at changing the shape of the team when we're defending to try and be able to break out a little bit more expansively. So we've worked at all sorts of things, but it's difficult when you don't have the full team. Now we'll get Karma back tomorrow. He's landed, and we'll get Daniel back, and the Bafana lads, they trained this morning for the first time. So it's been a challenge, but I think the same as Rulani, I think there's some good work being done, and we've got Lebo back. He's in a position where I can select him. Can he play a full game? No, not at all. But can he be on the bench and be an impact player? Probably now he can. So we've got a couple of positives from that. But all in all, it's been good work. It's been good. The players have worked very, very hard. And, we gave them a few days in the beginning free, so they recharged the batteries. It's been quite a long time. Both us and Sundowns have been going at it for quite some time now, you know. So a couple of days to recharge the batteries was very welcome.
Can I ask the two coaches? First of all, Rulani, when do you usually make a decision on the players who come back from international? I mean, you've got Shalulile was in West Africa, Lunga was in Ethiopia. These guys obviously have travel in the legs, etc. Do you leave that for a Friday just before the game, before you make a call on whether you think they're fit enough to play or whether their fatigue is out? Or is that a decision that's made perhaps a little bit earlier in the build-up? And then, Stuart, if I may ask you, do you think that you walked out of that MTN8, even though you lost on penalties last month, with perhaps the better sort of morale kick, in the sense that you came back from 2 goals down, and perhaps in the extra time you might well have actually won the game? Do you think that gave you a little bit more of a boost and maybe put a little doubt at the same time in Sundown's head? Thanks very much.
Coach, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think with regards to the previous game, I think we weren't happy at all with our first 30 minutes. I don't think, going 2-0 down against Sundowns, you're well within your rights to feel that the game is going to be reached too far. But we did come back well in the second half, and I think we were pleased with that. I'm not sure if it gives us. I don't think it gives us a psychological edge over Sundowns, but it certainly gave us some belief that if we do certain things well, then we can be an unpleasant opponent for us. So I think that positive kick that you're talking about, I think that one we took. We took also a smack on the wrist to warn us that if you put your fingers in the fire against Sundowns, you'll get them bloody burnt. So I think that warning we will take. And going into this game, I think the question you asked Rulani, we've also got that. We've got Karma coming back from a long one, and we've got to make decisions on that. But I think those decisions are probably a little bit more gilt-edged for me because we don't have that many players that can replace Karma with his quality. And so I'm really looking to maybe wrap him in cotton wool a little bit, yes, but certainly getting ready for the game.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mark. I think it's a very good question. Yeah, it becomes difficult to use every situation with a blanket approach provides us with problems because, I mean, you've got the Bafana players who were in the country and immediately after the match, they are released from camp and fortunately that gives you an extra day or two to try and rehabilitate and refresh. Rehabilitate if you've got one or two niggling sort of situations like within Toby. Nothing serious, but there's a niggle here and there. And then you've got a situation like you've got with Divine Lunga. You know, I mean, Divine only landed at Oral Tambo at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. But what we do try to do with regards to that is, one, we try to be extremely proactive. We don't release players at Sundowns without knowing the itinerary. We want to know where they're flying to, on which day, how they connect, and how long the flights are. And at times, if we are dissatisfied with the plan and we feel that it would compromise our preparations, we get in touch with the association and try to have some form of support and provide some form of support to make sure that we try and get the players as quickly back as possible so that we've got time before, not just for recovery, but also for preparation, because we want to also have time with the players on the pitch to prepare for a specific opponent. And Kaizer Chiefs is a team that will always provide you with a lot of challenges. And if you are not prepared tactically to solve those problems on the pitch, then you go with already with a disadvantage, and you don't want to go into a big game like that and feeling as if you are not as well prepared for it. So we individualize the scenarios and try to make sure that we come up with different and also it's based on the number of minutes. We try to track how many minutes they've played for the national teams. In the one match, you see whether they've played 90 or they were subbed off, and maybe even it helps to have a Toby Mbala who does not play more than 70 minutes and with an underload sort of situation. It allows his recovery to be a lot faster than a Roshin Duruk, for an example, who's done 2 times 90 minutes. So, of course, we try to make sure that we tailor-make every situation in relation to the picture that is presented in front of us. And as we go, like with every other game, we then make the decision based on that as close to match day as possible.
Thank you, Vina. First, sorry guys, Spear from Frontrunner. Afternoon, everyone. Firstly, for Coach Stuart Baxter, what are your thoughts on your boys that were in the national team? You know, how did they play? Blom and Ngobo. Also, Ngobo was used in midfield for the second match. Do you think that's a position he could maybe take up at Kaizer Chiefs as well? And for Coach Rulani, what are your thoughts regarding the article written by Mazola about the coaches not seeing eye to eye? Is it distracting maybe? Thank you.
Yeah, I think the boys. We had members of staff on the Bafana staff, so we privy to a little bit of inside information how the boys did, you know. So I think they all did really well on camp. I think that they've come back quite fresh. What I saw of them, their performances in the game was fine compared I mean, considering that they're new to a new squad. And Jamolo playing as a midfield player, certainly he's comfortable enough on the ball to play there. And certainly if we were to play in a certain way, there'd be an absolute possibility that he could play as one of the midfield players. So I'm going to steal a little bit of Rulani's question there and say that I don't know where anybody got the idea that me and Rulani don't see eye to eye. I think probably on footballing terms we see the game being played the way the global game is being played, and we don't hide behind our own opinions as being the gospel as written by the coaches, you know. So I don't see that. I mean, Rulani may chop me down now and say, "No, I hate the old sod," but I've never felt that. So there's a professional respect between me and Rulani as far as I'm concerned.
I've got huge respect and admiration for Coach Stuart, and I think he knows. We have a lot of discussions. We've had a lot of meetings for breakfast and coffee and to discuss football. And in fact, at times I'm even in awe of the amount of wisdom and knowledge that goes even beyond football. I mean, there's a book that the coach recommended to me. I think it was the 12 Rings, and you know, when you speak to Coach Stuart, he starts speaking to you about and educating you about the martial arts and how you can find some of these principles in the martial arts and incorporate them into football. But anyway, that's not for today's talk. But I was just, you know, it's just exemplifying the fact that, I mean, if we have coffee and we talk about martial arts, I think it goes to show that I think there's a very good rapport and a good feeling between the two of us. And I also don't think he would have asked me to come to Bafana at a certain stage. I mean, he was the coach that extended the invite to when I was a Pirate, and he said, "Look, I'd love to work with you." And I don't think he would have done that if the relations were not so good. So huge respect. I look up to him. I admire him for the career that he's had and the success that he's achieved. And he's one of the people that I take as role models. You know, I also have the view of football the same way that he has. So in relation to that, there's quite a lot that brings us together. But to go back to the questions, Spiwe, about the article that Mazola wrote yesterday, I read the article. I read the article and I was expecting the question already, you know. Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer. You know, it's a bit difficult and not to come across as trying not to be honest, but at the same time also to try to protect the club. We've got a very, very big game on the weekend. Our focus and our energies must be on that. But also in the corner of my brain, there's also the importance of clarifying some of the things, and it's a pity because sometimes some of the things that come out and you're like, oh my goodness, how did this get out? And for me, that is probably the biggest problem, is having a mole and having people that report certain things into the media. We should not have people in our club that go about that sort of behavior. That should not be allowed, because in any organization, in any household, and whenever there's any relations, of course there's going to be one or two squabbles and disagreements, and those should not be blown out of proportion. But you know, I get disappointed personally in my own personal capacity. I get disappointed when I'm on the other side, and maybe this question, to be honest with you, maybe this question should be given to Coach Mangoba, because what was reported in the media, there is an element of truth to it. But for me, the coach apologized, and we move on and we focus on what's important for Mamelodi Sundowns, and that's it. You know, so I've got nothing more to say about it.
Yeah, hi, morning coaches, Mark Stratton, Times Live. Just the return of Manyama. Can you just clarify? I think I thought I think you were saying it was him you were going to treat with cotton wool. Or I don't know if, sorry, I misheard. But yeah, just the return of Manyama, what dynamic does that bring, given your last game, your first half was so good and so promising, and the team clicked for the first time? You know, it's not a guarantee that the team is clicking, but it seemed to click. And what does the return of a player like Manyama bring to that dynamic? Coach Rulani, that first half of Chiefs, I'm sure you guys observed that. I think a lot of people in the league would have sat up and taken notice of it. It was one of the more promising performances by Chiefs in possibly quite a long time. And especially a player that you know very well, Keegan Dolly, who really seemed to spark it. Just what did Sundowns make of that? And when you talk about Chiefs, you see the improvements. I'm sure that played a role in your assessment that they've improved a lot. Thanks a lot. And I'm sure a long way to go for both teams. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, Mark Lebo's been training with us now. He had as he started training, we were rehabbing him into training. So he had a deficiency in strength that we weren't happy with. So we didn't put him into a normal training. He was having modified training. He's now in full training. We've taken away those modifications and he's in full training. And he played 15 minutes when we played the friendly game against the Botswanans at the FMB. And he played very well and he was comfortable and he's fired up and he wants to be involved now. So I could select him on the bench, but that would be the maximum. And I don't think we'll get more than 20, 30 minutes out of him in terms of his football sharpness, fitness, but he would be available to me in that situation. What he brings to the team is probably everybody understands what he brings to the team, that extra bit of quality, that experience. And when he's fired up and concentrating, he does have that little bit extra, you know, so we can play him in 2 or 3 different positions, but I've got one role that I want him to be able to play for us, and he's been doing that in training very, very well. So that's where Lebo is. Karma is travelling back, as Rulani said. I think he said one of his players got back 4:30. I think Karma may have even been on the same flight. You know, he got in at that time. So you don't rush him into training this morning. You tell him go home, sleep, do something through the day, take a jog, do some Tai Chi, whatever you want to do. But just get yourself ready to be in more sort of normal training tomorrow.
Is Tai Chi similar to Taekwondo, Coach?
Tai Chi is it's a soft one. Kung Fu is the hard one and Tai Chi is the soft one. I'm at the soft ones now, Rulani. I can't do the hard.
The guy said you're drinking tea.
No, Mark, look, you're right. A good 45 minutes from Kaizer Chiefs, but an excellent 35 minutes from Mamelodi Sundowns. I think we played that for the players, and we showed how much control we have and how difficult it is against a big team to have so much dominance, you know. So I know, and out of respect for Coach Stuart, I know how good that 45 minutes was. But I think for us, our focus is to try to look at ourselves and see where we are and how we would like to improve. And of course, the basis of that is to try to move from the foundation that was laid, and that 35 minutes was exceptional. We were dominant. Our pressing schemes were correct. Our build-up schemes were correct. Our ability to find certain areas in the pitch to try to stretch Kaizer Chiefs was correct, and even the balance in relation to the problems that they pose for you. I mean, they've always, and even in the last few games, the position that Nurkovic has been played is giving teams a lot of problems, because in the one moment you want to try to high press, but then you've got to cover the possibilities of that long ball to Nurkovic and the second ball that comes from there. And you can see how clearly outlined the team is, and how much of a clear tactical culture they've started now to build. But we've also got a lot of very interesting schemes, very interesting ways of doing certain things on the pitch, and Chiefs have also got to solve some of our problems, So the good 45 minutes that they showed, we are aware of, but I think the Chiefs is also aware of the very good 35 minutes that we had in the first half.
To both coaches, yesterday can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the sports minister basically said that fans can come back to stadiums when they are vaccinated, and how do both clubs feel about that situation, about getting fans vaccinated and getting fans primarily back into the stadium, particularly for big clashes like this?
Yeah, we're just excited. We want the supporters back on the seats. We can't wait to have the Masandawanas with us. So if it takes being vaccinated to get the stadiums to give us the same feeling, I mean, you watch now the Europe qualifiers, and you watch the English Premier League and the La Liga, and you see how the game feels a lot more different because of the energy that is just imparted by the supporters, and you're saying, goodness me, I can't wait until we get to experience the same. So yeah, we're excited, and hopefully what it means is that we're moving towards a direction of normalizing things and the normality of football. The normality of football is that the game belongs to the supporters and the spectators, and we are just in support. If it means that we move towards that direction where we can open the gates again and we can have bums on seats, then we will always support that motion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with Rulani. As much as the supporters, we missed them so badly. It's if the clubs are the muscle and the bones, and the supporters are the blood, and without that blood pumping in our bodies, we feel very, very weak. And so, I just want to. The politicians will do their thing and find the best and the safest way, I'm sure, to get people into stadiums. And then for me, it's just the longing to actually do that. I looked at a game last night. It was from Denmark, and Copenhagen Stadium was completely red and white. Incredible. It was completely incredible scenes. And of course, that comes from after the tragedy of Christian Eriksen and the outpouring of love that they've got for their national team at the moment. But isn't that what we're all trying to do, Find a safe way to get the people back into the stadium. And I know that's been a challenge to find that safe way, because we've gone up one path and found it closed, and gone down another one and find that closed. But I'm sure that the people that know best will find that safe way and get people back in the stadium. And I can't wait. And I'm sure Rulani's itching the same as me. So maybe sometimes hear that, you useless coach, ringing in your ears, but I'll take that just to get them back in the stadium.
Afternoon coaches, afternoon colleagues, Stuart Baxter from Sport 24. This is perhaps a question directed to Baxter, but Coach Rulani can also touch in. I had a interview with Bafana coach Hugo Bruce, and I queried him surrounding the possibility of having sort of similar, month-to-month camps with players, similar to what the Springboks had leading up to the World Cup, leading up to various tournaments. Perhaps, Coach, back to you. You can touch on this because you've coached Bafana. Is that possible for clubs? When, as a coach as well, is that possible for you guys to perhaps have something with the PSL and SAFA and various clubs to release certain players to have those sort of month-to-month camps with Bafana to increase those camps? Thanks.
Yeah, look, I think the English Football Association had the same ideas when I was with the English FA, and it's something that many national teams have spoken about. But it falls very, very quickly into a category of being very difficult because of, one, who will pay the players while they're away from their club training with the national team. If it's not under the auspices of FIFA, who will pay them? The insurances need to be paid if they get injured under that point. Who would foot that bill for their wages if they came back injured? And there are many things. Being an ex-national coach, I would love to cooperate to the nth degree, but I can't forget the fact that I am the coach of Kaizer Chiefs, and they pay my wages, and I've got to get the best results for them. So I would pitch up in any way possible if it doesn't hurt our own programme, and if SAFA and the clubs could come to an agreement about who would actually pay for those 5 or 6 days or whatever it would be to be away from your club. Would there be a pro rata payment made by SAFA to the club? Does a sponsor step in and do it? There's a lot of questions to be answered. I would certainly sit down and talk about it because I've been a national coach and I know that time is of the essence for a national coach to get your ideas across and to get to know your players better. But you know, that's easier said than done on many fronts.
Yeah, I think the coach is 100% correct, and who better to give you an answer that relates to the national teams than Coach Stuart Baxter. So I plead the fifth on this one. I think we've got enough experience, wisdom from Coach Stuart to be able to assist, you know, Coach Hugo Bros. So I don't think I'm the right person, to be honest with you, to comment on that issue.
Thanks, Shupi. Coach Rulani, Coach Stuart, question to both of you. Just injury updates, and then also just asking, I know it's early doors, but I mean, will this game give us an indicator when we look at, you know, title credentials and title challenges? I mean, we obviously got a snippet of that from the MTN 8, but obviously this is a league game proper. Will we see elements of how the two teams can go for it? Obviously, one of them being the defending champions.
Yeah, from my side, Mazola, we've got Leo Castro, who's still in Colombia. He's doing he can't do any rehab yet after his operation, so he's totally immobilized at the moment. So that one's way down the road. We've got Zuma, who's jogging. He's in that phase of his rehab, and we've got Sia, who is doing exactly the same. He's had a very bad one, and he's just in the jogging phase and jogging / limping. So he's not available anytime soon. So we got Lebo back into normal training, and we've got the others back into normal training. We're managing Keegan and how much he can play. We're managing Karma. Karma's now played a couple of times for the national team, so I'm guessing he's fully integrated into the squad again now. So, excuse me, that's where we're at with that one. Daniel is on his way back from Nigeria. He didn't pick up any injuries. Brandon had a little bit of a tweak, but he's trained this morning and he looked very good. We'll see if he has any reaction tomorrow. Apart from that, you're always susceptible to picking up injuries between now and the game, but at this moment, that's what we've got.
Thank you. I think we still have some. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No. Thanks, Mazola. And you owe me coffee, Mazola, because I know you've got an unwritten law or rule where you don't reveal your sources, but I'd love to know who your sources are, because when you write stories that have a lot more fact than fiction, I'm very interested to find out who gives you a lot of these stories, you know. But anyway, No, injury update. We have Modao still struggling a little bit, and we have to see what is his state. He's probably out of this match. Not ready. And we still have the long-term injury of Lebu, and that's for us is a massive blow. But we've got enough within the squad to be able to deal with that. But other than that, it's one or two niggling injuries. Tembazwane still needs to pass a fitness test. Musa Libusa still needs to pass a fitness test and complete a full training session. But apart from that, we are moving into a very good space, and a lot of kudos and a lot of credit and praise needs to go to our medical department, the way they've dealt with the players during this period when we've had when we've had a couple of off days. They've come into the office. They've had a couple of extra sessions with some of the players. So yeah, fantastic work being done behind the scenes, and I think we sit with a much healthier squad going into a very difficult time for us, because as we go into the next couple of matches, we then have another FIFA break. But after that, it really is until January. It really is cutthroat, and we need everybody. So we are sitting in a position where it looks much better than what it looked prior to the FIFA break.
Mazola, you asked. Yeah, your question was two-barreled, and I didn't answer the second part. Sorry. No, you said, is this an indication of who's going to be in it and who's going to be away from it? I think this is very early. I think everybody is trying very, very hard to put down these markers for everybody else. I think you take it in a heartbeat, any sort of positivity that can help you going forward. And certainly a victory for one of the two teams in this game is a bit of a marker for everybody else. And it's also a positive sign that your development is going in the right direction. So all of those things said, if one of the teams loses this game, they will still be one of the people that I'm guessing is going to be there or thereabouts when we come to the pointed end of the stick. So yeah, I think it's an important one for confidence, etc. But it's not a must-have. It's a nice-to-have, I think.
Yeah, I know. I was just about to say the same. You read my mind. It's not a must-have. It's a nice-to-have. And it's a nice to have. It's something that we want, and I mean, to win over an arch rival, one of the big teams in the country, is a very good feeling, a good confidence booster going into the season. And we saw what it did for us last season. I mean, the first game for us last season was Chiefs, and we won 3-0, and that brought the level of confidence and took the team into a space where they believe that they can play against anybody their way. And that's what we try to do. We try to make sure that we go into every match to play our way, impose our schemes, our approach onto the pitch, but at the same time to win every single match and give ourselves a chance to win, whether it is against Chiefs or whether it is against Chippa United, where unfortunately we got the draw. But the mentality, the approach is always to try to win every football match, and that's how we prepare. We prepare ourselves to go into matches to win. What that means is you've got to win every single day. Every training session must be a win. Every training session must be a session that is fully engaged to try to make sure that we improve and we get better than we were yesterday. And that's our mentality. It's a culture that was created before. It's a culture that is synonymous with Mamelodi Sundowns, and it's a culture that we have a responsibility to uphold. And that is no different when we go into the game against Kaizer Chiefs. We've got a responsibility to go into the match and try to win the football match, and that is exactly what we're going to do. Whether that puts us in a position to say we favorites for the title, I think already we go into every match as defending champions with that tag already. We go, when you win the league title, you also win the pressure that comes with being champions, and we've accepted that. And at Sundowns, you've got to quickly accept it, because if you don't accept, then you play with pressure and you use pressure as an enemy instead of using it as a tool to help you to get better, you know. And as I always say, pressure is a privilege. When you have pressure, you must know that you've earned it and you've put yourself in that position. And all you do is you use it to fuel your performances. And that's the mentality that we have at Mamelodi Sundowns.
And last question from Rob Delport in Cape Town.
Thanks, Shupi, from squeezing me in. Rob Delport from Cape Town. Just for both coaches, we've had a nice positive result for the country at the beginning of the week. How much does that rub off on the camps of both teams? And maybe for Coach Rulani as well, we've also had a nice positive result with the ladies. Was that a nice boost of morale at the club?
Oh, fantastic. We talk about football heritage. Mourinho spoke a lot about football heritage. And the football heritage of Mamelodi Sundowns is success that goes not just only into the ladies and the senior team, but this is a culture, mentality that even though we want to develop the best players within our academy, but part to developing very good players, and particularly as you come closer to the competition phase of development, it's important to win, and that's the mentality. The mentality of the club is winning, and we celebrate our women for upholding the heritage of this club, protecting the image of the club, and fighting to continue the legacy that the senior team has not just achieved and set, but works very hard to continue to establish for the future and for the next generation, you know. And that's what we speak about. If you've read the book Legacy by James Kerr about the All Blacks, they speak about cleaning the shed and leaving the shed better than you found it. That becomes our responsibility. The mandate for our women is, as they come in, they look behind to say in what state did they find the ladies team in. And they found it winning and winning championships and qualifying for the Champions League, the Ladies Champions League, and achieving incredible things that even go on to spiral into Basitsana and Banyana. And for those sort of achievements, it would be improper of us not to extend huge congratulations. We welcomed them the other day with a beautiful, tunnel of honor, a guard of honor, and it was well deserved. So congratulations once again to Coach Cherry and the entire team for making the Yellow Nation extremely proud. And also, of course, we celebrate in a very humble way, because there's a long way to go. I mean, we've only just played the 2 matches, and we only sit on 4 points. But it's a good way to start off the qualifiers by beating Ghana and at home, because the away match will be even more difficult. So congratulations to Hugo Bros also. It's good for the national team to get back into winning ways, but of course, I think Hugo Bros and his people also know that there's still a long way to go, and it's just about being hands on deck, feet firmly on the ground, and just continue working in the background of knowing that they've got our full support.
Yeah, I mean, I'll reiterate what Rulani's saying there about the national team. I think we're all aware of the fact that you get little time to work with the players, and what time you get, you need some sort of receipt that you're on the right track. It's very difficult sometimes to know exactly that you're on the right track as a coach, and certain things happen to give you that extra momentum to keep on going the same way. So yes, I think it's a positive thing that we get the win against Ghana. The coaches will now look at what they did, and they'll look at what they can improve, and they'll take that forward. And I can guarantee you, as a former Bafana coach, that is a lot easier than working after a defeat. In the maelstrom of criticism from the 52 million expert coaches in this country, it's a lot more difficult if you've lost. So I'm pleased for the coaches, staff, the coaches of the national team that they get the results and they can carry on working in a positive atmosphere. Just one that Rulani was talking about with the ladies and stuff like that. You know, all coaches, all players, we're all the same. In fact, politicians the same. We cannot live forever. No man can live forever, but we can try to create things that will live forever. And so when we go out of the door, we've got to be thinking that, you know, someday you're not going to be here, but the things that you did and the results that you created and the happiness that you brought, hopefully that feeling will last forever.
Fully agree.
Do that. Thank you.
Fully agree with you. I think at times we are put in positions where we've got to plant trees with the clear understanding that we may not be around to enjoy the shade that will be provided by those trees. But you still do it anyway, because you know that shade will come in handy for someone else. So I fully agree with Coach Stuart.